Lots happened since our last, I guess it's not a conversation since I do all the talking. Last night was the vice presidential debate, which I watched for about 5 minutes because I could see the next hour and a half was going to be what the first 5 minutes was, which was the lady would ask them questions and they'd look at their paper and pick one of the 4 answers they had written down and answer it regardless of what the question was. But anyway, I was about ready to give up on this. You can notice maybe if you've seen my other episodes that I'm not wearing my patriotic red, white, and blue star-spangled shirt anymore. And I have resolved myself to the fact that I'll say at least the first sentence of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. That's about it. Because the republic for which it stands is a serious mess. And I went to a baseball game a couple weeks ago, Kansas City Royals, and for about 10 seconds I thought about not standing up for the national anthem, but my wife was there and her brother and sister-in-law and their 2 young girls, and so I went ahead and stood up, but I didn't sing. So anyway, I don't see things getting headed in the right direction at all. And this election stuff is just so damn crazy that I think probably the only way I could get more people to view this is if I'd have a stroke while I'm talking about it, which I swear my head just pounds and I feel like I could, but hopefully I won't. Something did make me feel better though, and that's why we're doing this today. There's signs all over my neighborhood and all over everywhere else. Obama, McCain, whatever. This is one I'm putting in my yard. And I don't really... Anyway, I went to this place. My dad has an Obama sign in his yard, which is interesting. But he said he had to pay $20 for it. And I thought, man, that's strange. You know, Obama's got what, $800 and some million in the bank or whatever it is. And they're selling signs to people for $20 to put in their yard. And anyway, I didn't really want an Obama sign. I mean, I'm for Obama as opposed to McCain, but I don't know. You know, his slogan started off as change, and now McCain's slogan's changed, and everybody's slogans change. Well, and I mean, they figured this part out. No change is insane, that's for sure, but so far it's just a lot of talk. Anyway, I went to this sign store, and I walked in and asked this lady that ran the place, I said, I'd like to buy a sign for my yard. How much would it cost? She gets her price book out. She says $33. I said, dang. Because I was thinking somewhere along the line, you know, other people might want it too. And I thought $33, heck, that's more than Obama sign. Of course, they're making millions and I'm making one. And that kind of affects the price when you're printing stuff. But anyway, so I said, okay, I guess I'll just take one. And she said, okay. And she said, what do you want on it? McCain or Obama? I said, I don't want either one. I want it to say no change is insane. She said, I'll make those for $15. Boy. I mean, that helped a lot. You know, I thought I was just the only person out there that was rational, but at the same time so darn frustrated with what's going on that I couldn't see straight. And here's this lady, independent. I mean, she's just her own boss. She runs her own sign shop. And she's willing to cut her price more than half because I assume she believed what I was putting on the signs as well as I do. So that's why I'm back at it. And I don't know how much longer I'll last, but I will last this long. Oh, my topic for today is still the war. You know, I know we're in the middle of well, at the beginning of the week it was a $700 million bailout. I can't remember what we're calling it now, but God knows we can't call it a bailout. But still, to me, the war is the number one thing. And it's gotten Bush elected twice, or at least once. And we don't need to be making the same mistakes we've been making all these years. We just got to do something different. I'll ask everybody else does it. Do you feel safer today than you did on September 11th? I sure don't. But I don't feel safer I've never heard anybody talk about the reasons I don't feel safer now than I did on September 11th. The war on terror. We haven't seen the war on terror yet. We got a brief glimpse of the war on terror when Timothy McVeigh bombed Oklahoma City. Timothy McVeigh was a veteran of the first Gulf War that we won. And he came home somehow a little disillusioned. I guess you could say it was probably his Catholic upbringing in Buffalo, New York. You know, good place to start. But for some reason we didn't choose to bomb Buffalo, New York. Anyway, now we've got tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of young men and women in the Army that have been to Iraq numerous times. A lot more times than anybody should ever have to go anywhere to fight. And you think they're not going to come home a little irritated? Especially when they come home like my nephew did. Poor kid. You know, he had a couple parents that didn't really know how to be parents. Ended up in foster care. Ran into a wonderful couple that took him in for who knows why. Just because they were good people. Helped him get through high school. After he graduated from high school, guess what his best choice was? Join the Army. Join the Army. They sent him to Iraq. He drove a Bradley. I talked to him quite a bit on the computer, emailed back and forth. Actually got to talk somehow. He comes home from Iraq. He seemed okay. The only thing that ever scared me about talking to him was he said he did kind of get a kick out of just taking his Bradley down a street and just running over the cars. He said it'd smash them flat. Nobody in him, thank God. He didn't say anything about doing anything to anybody personally. Anyway, he does his year or however long it is in Iraq. He comes back to Fort Riley, Kansas, where he was stationed. I think they offered him $12,000 if he'd stay in. So he took the $12,000. And before he got out of Junction City, Kansas, which is where Fort Riley is, he'd bought a car. Cost $15,000. Before he could get from Junction City to Kansas City, which is about 2.5, 3 hours, he calls me because he didn't have any money for gas. Now he's in prison.